keynote on innovation, you said that banks have access to all this data and information, but they make it very difficult for the customers to benefit from it. Why is that, and what are some of the barriers banks face in making their data more transparent and making this easier for clients?
Well, the real issues here are that a lot of data comes from a lot of different sources, and a lot of these sources have their own systems and they have their own data formats and the way they pull data together. So banks really become data aggregators and translators for customers, and that becomes a bit of a challenge sometimes because customers want to get stuff back in certain kinds of formats and in different ways. So banks have to build multiple ways to present the same data to the similar customers. And so having some standards, particularly around industries, would be really nice for everyone, whether it's healthcare or energy or agriculture, whatever that industry is, which have very unique needs for those industries. And so a lot of banks work together with customers to understand those needs and actually try to drive more standardization. But it has to be a combo of banks, businesses, and tech providers to really make that a better reality for everyone.
Could this be because so much of banks' data is held in silos and banks have difficulty having a single view of the customer?
We have a lot of old systems of record, right? And what banks are doing, and I know we'd spend a lot of time doing this, to get a holistic view of the customer, you have to come up with a common customer definition and a common hook in all those systems. Then you can pull that data together and rationalize it, which we at Wells spend a lot of time doing that because that's the best way to look at customers. But that is not the easiest thing in the world to do.
You also mentioned that improving the quality of customer service rather than focusing on cost as a priority should be what banks are doing. How does Wells Fargo put this into action?
Well, our game's all about customers. We've always said if you don't have customers, what's the point of having a bank anyway? And customers want satisfaction. They want you to deliver to their expectations. And the reality, most times everything works fine, but when there's a problem, people want answers. And the way you get answers is you actually understand all the things the customer is doing with you, and you've been able to pull all their data together so that your customer service rep can actually talk to the customer about all the things they're doing rather than one piece here, and now I got to have you go someplace else in the bank to get an answer for the same question or a similar question.
Will there be a tipping point for banks on innovation, or will it be the new and funky banks versus the oldie fogey legacy banks?
So I think everyone innovates. And I think the thing we forget about innovation is that there's big innovations that everyone sees, like an iPhone or an iPad, and then there's thousands of little innovations that happen all the time that don't get the press and the public knowledge that everybody else gets. So I look at Wells, and what we try to do is we actually have little innovation contests that get everyone's ideas up, right? Because it doesn't come from the top, the best ideas. Most of the best ideas come from the people who are spending all the time working with the customer, right? So these contests are one way to drive that voice up, right? But you have to have a champion at the top of the company that says, you know what, it's okay to think that a business that we're in big today may go away 5 years from now. And do we protect that business, or are we the ones that help cannibalize it and build a new business out of it? That takes a lot of strong leadership to make that happen. And I think you'll see that the best companies are the ones with the strongest leaders who are willing to change and recognize that the world is changing, and if they don't, they're going to get left behind.
So Wells Fargo doesn't keep their innovators with their dangerous ideas locked in a basement?
I think what you have is, and I don't mean this negative at all, there's managers who are very focused on the bottom line and getting things done in the short term, and then you have your leaders who are looking at the horizon, right? And those are the ones you want at the top of the bank who have a strong voice, seeing where the world's headed and how you're going to bring your own ship and get yourself to the horizon.